Hello everyone, hope you're doing okay, hope you're keeping safe, hope you're keeping sane. If you haven't seen me before, my name's Phil. I was a gambler for 20 years, a gambling addict for the vast majority of those, and on my channel I talk about my experiences with gambling, my experiences with recovery, and some of the lessons I've learned along the way. Now this video is quite a special one for me because I will be answering a lot of your guys' questions that you've been sending to me over the last week or so, and giving my opinions, my experiences, and in some cases where applicable, my advice. And of course I always preempt this by saying that I am not an expert, I am not a qualified counsellor or psychologist. I am purely a guy who has gambled far too much for far too long in my life and bear the scars to prove it. It's going to be quite a long video. What I'll probably do in due course is chop it up, addressing all the different topics, all the different subjects, and all the different questions you guys have asked, and then obviously that will give people an opportunity just to focus in on the ones that they are the most interested on. I don't know why I'm wearing headphones. So I've been asking you to, like I say, send me questions, and I've got them here in front of me. And I'll start, well, at the very beginning, I guess. BGM2403 says, "Hey Phil, I'm 19 and a recovering addict. I'm currently approaching the 6-month mark, my best by far." Very well done, BGM. I'm wondering if there are any traps or difficulties staying on the right path that come with long-term streaks. Now, I would suggest that the biggest problem you have as you reach the sort of medium to long term in recovery is complacency. Complacency is an absolute killer. What you have got, though, is you have a really good, solid foundation there. By now, a lot of the physical urges and the psychological urges to gamble will have sort of started to sort of die down a bit. They'll still be there, and you still very much have to be on your guard. And like I say, that is where the biggest pitfalls can come. You know, if you get complacent, if you start to think, "Oh, you know, I'm fixed," then you can kind of sometimes, you know, either consciously or subconsciously fall into the trap where you think that you can maybe start gambling recreationally or just have a little bet here or there, you know, and it's not going to do you any harm. You're not going to fall back into the same behavioural patterns as you did before. And this is speaking from experience. I am someone who has got a few months clear of gambling, thought, well, I can have a little bit of a bet, then thought, well, that's fine, I didn't, you know, that didn't cause me any harm, I can have another little bit of a bet, or I can just have a few quid here and a few quid there, and yeah, very, very quickly sort of fell back into old routines, fell back into old habits, and actually, in my experience, and this will be different for other people, in my experience, every time you relapse, every time you have a lapse, every time you go back to gambling, and I believe it's quite often the same with other addictions and other negative behavioural cycles, is it becomes worse. And actually, you know, each time you go back to gambling, you cause more and more damage than you did the time before. So brilliant, well done on the 6 months. That's absolutely fantastic. Really, really pleased to hear that. Use it as a great kicking off point. Make sure, and this is probably a theme that will come up time and time again in this video, make sure you have all the measures in place, all the blocks in place. While you've got this sort of success of a recovery so far, you know, under your belt, use, you know, a bit of time just to make sure that should, you know, strong urges start to reappear, or you start getting that little bit complacent, that you're not able to act on any potential urges, you're not able to gamble, certainly not easily. And yeah, good luck. Hope you continue well in your recovery. Kevin Stewart, hi Kevin, thanks for your question, mate. Says, "Hi Phil, do you believe there always has to be a major event, i.e. hitting rock bottom, by whatever means, before you can go into quit mode and begin your absence recovery? Or can it be nipped in the bud before it reaches this point? I'm not convinced it can be, but I'd be interested to hear your thoughts." I have spoken about this before, but yeah, thanks for your question. It's a really interesting one, actually. And my true belief, and as I always say, you know, and I'll probably say multiple times in this video, I can only speak based on my own experience and what I think has worked for me. No, I don't think you have to hit rock bottom. And the one thing I would say, and this is going to be the first of many cliches I use, is be very aware that rock bottom has a basement. As they say, rock bottom is very hard to define, because it's funny, when you think things can't get any worse, they so often have the ability to do just that. So don't wait to bottom out. Don't wait to find like a real trigger, you know, because when it becomes that real serious thing that's happened, sometimes they're the things that abstinence and recovery won't help you get back. Okay, so If you've just had a substantial loss, okay, substantial financial loss, then that can be a good motivation to start a recovery. However, that motivation will be short-lived. So if you want to use that as a kicking off point, you really have to get stuck in straight away into recovery mode. You have to go out there and get your blocks in place. And I won't go into too much detail about blocks, as I'll find myself repeating over and over again. But if you don't get into recovery at that point, you will find a way to go out and gamble again, digging yourself further and further into this hole. And if you think, well, I'm going to wait until I hit rock bottom, then you have to define where you believe rock bottom is. Is it where you spent all your wages? Well, you'll get paid again. Is it where, you've lost your house and your wife and your kids and everything? Do you want to get to that point? If you can see yourself travelling down that road, and, gambling will ultimately take everything from you, believe you me, then, do you want to have to get to that point where some things will be irrecoverable? The loss of relationships is probably one of the biggest losses you can have from this addiction. Do you want to wait for that to happen before you take action on this and actually proactively do something to prevent that rock bottom from happening? Do you want to end up homeless on your own? You know what I mean? There's always, whatever position you find yourself in, there's always a way in which things can get worse until obviously the ultimate. So no, I don't think there needs to be a trigger to quit necessarily. If you're watching this video, if you believe you have a problem and you actually actively want to do something about that, then use that as motivation enough to quit, on the belief that things will get better if you do, and things will almost certainly get worse if you don't. That's it. But thanks for your question, Stuart. I hope that answered it anyway, mate. The Life of Liam. Hi, Phil from Wales. Hello, Liam, from England, in fact. My question is this. When did you decide that enough was enough? What was the final nail in the coffin? What made you go on betting on FOBTs one day to deciding, right, that's it? Thanks for your question. It sort of goes on actually from what Kevin asked, which is, at what point do you say enough is enough? And you know what? Throughout the time I gambled, I told myself enough was enough more times than I can remember or indeed probably count. Because every time I had a significant loss, I was like, right, I'm not doing that again. I'm not going to go and play those FOBTs anymore. I'm not going to stick my money in online. This is stupid. Why am I doing this? Why have I done this again? This has to be the last time, Making myself promises. So, well, if I stop gambling now, if I literally draw a line under it now, then I'm okay. I've still got enough money in the bank to get through the month. I've still, I've not completely fucked everything up. Basically, I'm okay. I'm doing all right. And then you go and lose some more, and then you go, right, it really is enough this time. I haven't got any money. I'm going to wait till payday now before I've got any money again in the bank. And then you get paid, and then you do it again, and you go, right, enough is enough. So anyway, you can see the cycle, right? It happens time and time and time again. That you promise yourself is enough is enough. So there is these triggers all the time. There is this sort of very fleeting motivation. But as I just said in answer to Kevin's question, the motivation to quit based on loss, or the motivation to quit based on a negative experience with your addiction, is very, very short-lived. In the same way, if you go out and get absolutely hammered, you wake up with a hangover. And you go, oh God, I shouldn't drink so much. I'm never drinking again. This is really bad for me. I shouldn't do this. And then the hangover starts to wear off. By lunchtime, someone gives you a call and says, oh, do you fancy meeting down the pub and having a couple this evening? And you go, yeah, go on. Then the couple turns into 10 pints. You come home, you wake up in the morning feeling hungover, thinking, oh God, I'm not going to do this again. And the cycle continues. So, yes, there can be triggers to quit. And I had those triggers all the time. However, if to be completely honest with you, Liam, I don't actually remember there being any specific event, any specific occasion that led me to be more successful in my recovery. Like I say, this isn't my first attempt at abstinence and at recovery. In fact, there's been many, some lasting hours, some lasting weeks, none lasting years until obviously now. But I don't remember there being any sort of specific trigger. There wasn't some dramatic fallout, some dramatic life event that made me sort of need to address it. I've needed to address it for years. But no, I genuinely can't think of anything sort of specific that made me think, enough is enough, I need to stop. But I knew in my head, as I'm sure a lot of people do, that I needed to stop long before I decided that I wanted to stop, and I actually made the changes necessary to facilitate that change of my life. So if you're questioning if enough is enough, if you're questioning whether you should stop, whether you should quit, whether you should get into recovery, then you probably should. But as I say, and as I'll probably say multiple times in this video, if you're going to quit, you need to want to. Needing to is never enough, unfortunately, because you need to actually want to make those changes. And many of the times I felt I needed to make those changes and fleetingly wanted to make those changes because I was suffering the results of my addiction. It subsided. I didn't really want to change at all. I didn't want to stop gambling. I just wanted to stop losing, basically. And then, I fell back into old habits. But thanks for your question anyway. AG411, or 41111, in fact. Hi Phil, like you, I'm a recovering addict. Managed to stay away from the bookies and casinos, albeit with a few relapses thrown in for good measure. Yeah, well, that's pretty par for the course, AG. Relapses and lapses are part of almost everyone's recovery. As I just said, if you stopped gambling the very first time you woke up in the morning after a big loss and said, I need to stop gambling, then, let's face it, we'd all be in a far better position. In fact, I'd be in such a better position, I probably wouldn't even be making these videos, because it wouldn't have done the damage it did, which caused me to go on and want to talk to you guys about it and sort of try and help other people, in the least sanctimonious way possible. Anyway, for a good few months now, so well done, good stuff. I own a few shares and various crypto holdings, which I basically hold and don't actively trade. What are your views on these types of activities? When it comes down to it, it's basically a form of gambling in the guise of investing. I haven't had any urges to go back to the bookies online, though, and I'd like to hear your stance on this. Okay, I will preempt this by saying I know very, very little about crypto. I had shares at some point in my life. I don't really have any major shareholdings at the moment, only from companies I've worked for and stuff like that. I don't trade in any way, shape or form. My position is this, and it's going to be slightly vague, unfortunately, AG, because I don't know enough about it. I would say crypto is, to me, would be too much of a gamble. If I was investing in crypto, because I don't know much about it, or enough about it to make good decisions, then I would just be gambling. I would be throwing my money at crypto, hoping that the value of it goes up and that I make money. And if that isn't the definition of gambling, then I don't know what is. So for me, to invest in crypto would be gambling. Yes, that would be me finding a fix of gambling, in the guise of investing. In terms of things like hedge funds and share profiles and stuff like that, again, it's not something I'm in any way an expert on. But if you are investing in shares and stocks as opposed to putting that money in a savings account, but you're investing with a firm that actually offers you a low level of risk across a sort of wide portfolio, and you're literally doing it to get a slightly better interest rate than you would on your savings, I would say that's investing. Particularly if you're not doing any trading, trying to increase your pot. But yeah, I think it's a fine line. I think it's based on your motivation for doing it. Really, if you're doing it because you just want to put your money somewhere better than in a savings account where you're going to earn 0.01% interest, and you'd rather try and earn like 1 or 2% interest on it by investing it sort of more widely, then yeah, I think that's perfectly legitimate. I wouldn't sort of put that in the same bracket as gambling. If you are actively trading and you're trading very volatile things like crypto, particularly if you have no inside knowledge, or at least not a particularly diverse knowledge of it, then I would suggest you're doing that for reasons other than a safe, logical, sensible investment of your money. You're doing it with a view to obtaining sort of quick returns and sort of maybe getting a certain element of sort of neurochemical feedback if your crypto or whatever goes up. You get a buzz, don't you, in the same way you get a buzz from winning at gambling. So yeah, I think it all depends on your position, on your level of knowledge, on your level of investment, and the the level of risk at which you are willing to invest. If you're investing in very short-term, high-risk things like sort of some of the crypto coins and stuff, with a view to sort of making quick money, then I think that probably is akin to gambling. If you're investing in a diverse stock or share portfolio for a relatively low but secure return, then I would say that's investing. But where that line is going to vary depending on who you ask and depending on your own level of knowledge and expertise in the field, to be honest. Gligsy W, my apologies if I mispronounced that. Hi Phil, just wanted to ask, did any member of staff from the places you went gambling ever approach you and ask any questions? If not, do you think it might have helped, or would you have just said, what's it got to do with them, etc., etc.? Very interesting question. Not something I think I've ever spoken about before. I used to gamble a lot on fob tees and bookmakers and stuff like that. A lot of the time I used my card. This is back when you could use cards over the counters to deposit, and I used to go and deposit £200 at a time, often multiple occasions in one visit. Once, I think, I got approached in a bookies, one I'd not been in before, and the lady came over from behind the counter and sort of said, hi there, I see you're playing on very high stakes. Just wanted to sort of check you're okay, sort of thing. I can't remember exactly what she said, but it was words to that effect. It was kind of probably, in all honesty, she was probably quite new, probably just recently had her training, and was actually one of the few people who actually still bothered to do that. I was very polite. I didn't say what's it got to do with you. I generally try and be very polite to service staff. It's one of people who are rude to anyone in sort of hospitality or retail or anything is one of my bugbears. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I was an addict at the time. I was gambling more than I could reasonably afford, but I just said, yeah, no, I'm fine, thanks. No, I gamble a lot. It's no problem. Basically, I'm absolutely fine. So fair play to that lady for asking. I don't think it really does an awful lot of good, because as I alluded to earlier, if you've got a gambling addiction, if you've got a problem with gambling, you've got a problem with gambling. You don't think, at least not when you're a little bit down the line, you don't think you're in control. You don't think, oh, I'm just doing this for fun. You know that it's a problem. You know that you're doing it too much. You know that it's causing issues in your life. So if you wanted to do something about it, if you didn't want to do it, then you wouldn't be there. So I can't imagine it's going to be super successful. The only thing it might do, excuse me 1 second. The only thing I think it could do is give people sort of after the fact something to think about. If someone comes up to you and tries to talk to you about your gambling problem, I can't imagine you're going to stop gambling there and then, but maybe later down the line, once you've left the bookies, once you've got home or whatever, it might trigger something to sort of make you think, well, actually, hang on a minute, this is obviously being noticed, and then sort of address your situation and maybe decide to do something about it. But I think in the then and now, no, I don't believe that's ever going to be really successful. And fair play to those who try it. Like I say, fair play to those staff who do sort of try and help or do approach people, because I wouldn't want to do it. I've seen in one of my early videos, you can see the anger people often have when they're gambling. The violent tendencies of people who have lost a lot of money, particularly in bookies, particularly on fob tees and stuff like that. So fair play to the people who try and address it. I wouldn't want to do it because I wouldn't want the backlash. Hell hath no fury like an angry gambler. And so yeah, fair play to those who try, but I think the success rate is going to be limited. Philip Dowling, hi Phil, keep up the good work with the videos. How do you cope with the long-term guilt with the wife for things you've done in the past to feed your gambling? This has been the hardest thing for me, and hard to forgive and forget the damage and past regrets. Oh, that's a heavy one, Philip, but a very, very, very good question. Right, how do I cope with the long-term guilt? I think the only thing you can do to cope with the long-term guilt is try and be a better version of yourself. This is the first time in the video I might get emotional. Try and be a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday. Cliched again, second cliche of the video, I think. But yeah, if you've done stupid shit in the past, particularly if it's stuff you've done that's either illegal, immoral, dishonest, in order to fund your gambling addiction or any addiction, staying on the straight and narrow, staying in recovery, working on yourself, doing whatever you can to be a better version of you is the only thing you can do. We will all live in our life with regrets, and that's even outside of, addictions and harmful behaviours. We all do things in life that we come to regret. and we all look back at certain things in our life with, you know, a disdain for our own actions. The only way I can deal with that is to continue to be a better version of me, and I am a far from perfect version of me. You know, I have my own idiosyncrasies, my own foibles, my own bad habits. Thankfully, none of them cause me to be dishonest, immoral, illegal, or in any way sort of, you know, unpleasant towards those around me in the same way that gambling ever did. So, yeah, I will always have regrets, mainly regrets for sort of time lost, for relationships lost, for harm done to those around me. But the only thing I can do to address those is to continue to strive to be better and treat those people around me with sort of the love and care and honesty that I should have afforded them all the way through. I don't think you can sort of, you know, repent. I don't think you can do things to make up for previous actions and sort of past behaviours, because, you know, it doesn't work like that. It's not a balancing act. All you can do, if these people are still around, they've stuck by you, so reward them for sticking by you by being the version of you that they obviously believe in. You know, the fact my wife has stuck with me through so much, including, you know, my times gambling and various other things, you know, and most of them are gambling related. You know, we all know addiction can lead us to do other things that we're not proud of. You know, yeah, she obviously saw through that and saw the what I like to think of as the real me, and stuck with me in, you know, with a view that real me would re-emerge one day. And the best way I can prepare for that is try and be that better version of me. But thank you for your question, and thank you for making me cry for the first time in the video. That's quite impressive for me. Anyone who watches the videos know I do tend to get a bit emotional sometimes talking about this, but I'm sure actually you guys will sort of appreciate that, you know. Whether it be the immediate emotion caused by gambling and behaviours that sort of lead us to real emotional highs and lows, or whether it's the sort of retrospective view of things lost or times past and things that we should have done or places we should have been, events that we've missed because we've been gambling, you know, arguments we've had, friends we've lost, relationships we've lost, all this sort of stuff, right? It's hard to look back, and obviously most of my videos are an exercise in looking back and looking back at, you know, our past. And there's a lot of shit in my past, you know, that I'm not proud of, I'm not happy with, and I regret, and I you know, I have a real deep sense of loss about. And obviously this unearths it, and that's you know, it's an emotional thing, you know. I just realised that actually I've done nothing with my hair or anything before recording probably the longest video I've ever done. So sorry I look a bit scruffy, but yeah, obviously you can always watch it just in the background, can't you? With the video off, just listen to the sound. Eh? Anyway, Curbside Cross 2000. Thank you for your comment. Hi Phil, I've managed to stay clear of gambling for 2 years since 2020. Fantastic. When I came across your video regarding how to deal with a big loss, and with your help it gave me the incentive to sort out my life and my finances. I told my wife about my problem, and you can say she was not a happy I'll read more, there's a read more, sorry. No, she was not a happy bunny, but she was glad that I was up front with her and her help, and we have more money in our savings. It's just nice to be able to treat the family, and I can now pass a betting shop without thinking about playing the machine or online. I'm now 46 years old, about time I sorted myself out. Keep up with the good work. Oh, well, thank you. It wasn't actually a question, but Curbside Cross 2000, fantastic, well done, 2 years. You're absolutely right. I opened up, spoke to my wife. She wasn't happy. I won't go into the full details because this video is going to be long enough as well, and plus it's kind of a personal thing. I had to come clean to her about basically some joint account money that I'd used for gambling, but I used my confession as an opportunity to open up and tell her all about everything. And yeah, of course she wasn't a happy bunny, but as we've just covered off in the last emotional segment of this video, she stuck by me. She's still here. She's still around. And yeah, it was an opportunity for me to open up, confess all, basically, warts and all. You know, don't hold stuff back. Tell them, you know, the problem. And she thankfully supported me. Look, I'll put a disclaimer on that and say you might open up to someone and they might not stick by you. And that's totally their prerogative, you know. If you're in a relationship with a gambling addict, or you're friends with a gambling addict, then you have to look after yourself first and foremost. You can't put them before you. So if you're in a relationship with someone and you come out and you basically confess to spending years being dishonest and destructive and all the rest of it, they are well within their rights to not hang about, you know. I was very, very lucky that my wife was understanding. She actually had a background in addiction. She works for the health service. She used to work with recovering alcoholics. No, that isn't where we met. And so she had a background in addiction, sort of had a bit of an understanding about addiction. So she was very, very understanding. But yeah, like I say, put a caveat on there. They're not always going to stick around, but you, at some point you have to be honest anyway. It'll come out. So, it's better to do it sooner rather than later. At least you might get some support. And the weight lifted from being honest and telling the truth, and sort of actually talking about your experiences to someone is a great catalyst then for change. And plus you've also got a second set of eyes looking out for you, haven't you? So thank you for your comment, and I really appreciate your support. In fact, I'll just take this opportunity to say I really appreciate everyone's support, everyone who's commented on the videos, everyone who's liked, subscribed. If you haven't already, I think about 70% of people haven't subscribed who watch my videos. Please do. Try and get to 3,000. Don't know why, just an arbitrary number. Look good on the screen, wouldn't it? Give me a little bit of an ego boost, why not? Anyway, Tony Hughes says, great videos, Phil. I refer to them a lot. They help a lot. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Do you think high street bookmakers should have the number of fob teas reduced, say, from 4 to 1? In recovery, I believe limited access and thinking time can be very helpful. That's why I think reducing fob teas is a compromise and may help. Thanks, Tony. Now, it's a bookies I walk past quite a lot because it's kind of on a route I go. I tend to go out for a bit of a walk in the evenings after work. And it's a route I go and I walk past that bookies every day, and it's almost certainly always dead. So hopefully that's a good thing. Hopefully it means fob teas are getting played less and less. I don't think reducing the number. Sorry to actually answer your question, Tony. Sorry. I don't think reducing the number of fob teas in bookies is going to help because when they reduced it to 4, then all that happened is they open more bookies. So if they are still profitable, and I really hope they're not. If they are still profitable, then I think reducing the number in any one site would literally just mean there'd be more bookies opening up. There's no shortage of sort of spare retail space, is there? So, yeah, I don't think that would necessarily help. But fingers crossed, fob teas are dying out anyway, and that'd be a great thing. I've always said that fob teas are, the scourge of gamblers really because of the sort of the ease of access and the sort of the availability of high stakes and stuff. I don't know what the latest on that is really. Like I say, I've not as much as looked at a fob tee in sort of however many months, years it is now. I'm sure they've got a new high-speed way of getting around the restrictions, but I don't care anyway. So I hope that answers your question, Tony. Kian says, "Hi Phil, I was doing okay when just sports betting. I was up. I wasn't up ever, but not down as much. Yeah, well, that's gambling, isn't it? Once I started playing roulette, everything went downhill. Casino games are where I believe people really get in trouble." Yeah, Kian, you're absolutely right. And to be honest, if I'd only ever done sports bets, I'd probably still be betting to this day. Because it was weird. I've never had a problem with sports betting. It's very strange. I could put, £5 down on football on a Saturday, and I wouldn't ever think, I lost. I need to bet on something else. I think it was all a bigger part of the problem. To be fair. But no, if I'd never done any other form of gambling, I don't think I'd be here making this video today, because I think I'd probably still be having 5 or 10 quid at a weekend on the football and not thinking anything of it. But funny enough, right, very quick aside, when I first quit gambling, I did say, right, I'm going to make exceptions to this rule. I'm going to allow myself to gamble if I go to Vegas, if I go to Monte Carlo. I'm allowed X amount per race if I go on like a stag do to the races or whatever. I'm quite near Newmarket. And I will allow myself a little bit of a football bet on the weekend because I didn't see that as a problem. However, when I started gambling, not only was I blocking off access to online gambling, so I couldn't place my bets online. Like I say, I've been banning myself from bookies left, right and centre, so it's actually really hard to place a bet even if I wanted to. I also decided, well, actually in the short term it's best not to do these things. And I didn't, and because it worked, I now don't do them at all because I'm like, well, what's the point? What's the point in risking falling back into those old destructive behaviours just because I think something is safe? So my advice, I know yours technically wasn't a question, Kian, but my thing would be, if you do decide you want to stop gambling altogether, then give the sports betting and stuff a bit of a wide berth, even if you think it's just for a short period, because you might find that you have no desire to go back to it, and that actually it was all forming at least part of the same psychological problem, even if it never caused you a problem in the first place. I hope that makes some sort of sense anyway. Chris, hi Phil, glad you're back. Thanks, mate. What are your views on a young generation being bombarded by gambling adverts during sports broadcasts, not to mention a majority of advertisement boards to be gambling companies, especially football? This is ominous for the future generation when they're old enough to gamble. You know what, Chris? Funny this. I hope this is one of my big things, and it's something I really want to do something about. I've spoken before about wanting to get into schools and colleges and stuff, and actually be able to just stand in front of a load of young people and tell them about my experiences and warn them about the dangers of gambling. Not say don't go and gamble, because Jesus Christ, when we were at school we all got told that, didn't we? Don't drink, don't smoke. And what's the first thing you do when you're 18? Well, you go and drink and smoke, and long before you're 18 normally, but anyway, you go and do all the stuff you've been told not to do. So it's pointless, Going out and telling young people don't gamble, it's harmful, is pointless, because they will want to go and do it, and that's fine, right? The important thing, I think, for me with young people is to recognise that it is dangerous, and to really keep close tabs on your own behaviours, really keep a close eye on what you're doing, and any potential harm in the behaviours that you're falling into. I think that is absolutely critical, and that's what I'd really want to go and speak to young people about. But I think they are exposed very, very much to gambling. Unfortunately, I think it's a part of our society now that's not going anywhere. It's really not. And unless there's a massive shift in regulation, it's really not going anywhere. I was at a party, an 18th birthday party on Saturday, just gone. More of the, not because I'm down with the kids, but because obviously family were invited as well, and it was a relative of my wife's. And I was chatting to some young lads at the bar, and they were talking about all their football bets and stuff, and what they'd won on and lost on that day. So it's very, very deeply ingrained amongst the young generation, and I don't think we can stop them trying gambling and doing the sports bets. My thing with them is just to try and get them to recognise signs that it might be becoming a problem and act on it before you fall too deep in the hole to get out. Not technically an answer to your question. I think it's very harmful. I think gambling promotion is incredibly harmful, but without strong regulation, it's always going to exist. So we have to look at other ways in which we can protect those who might become vulnerable to the addiction. I hope that answers your question, man. Cheetah, I just wonder if you had any thoughts on why people get addicted and others don't. Do you think there's something built into your psyche from day one, and they're always destined to become addicted while others will never be? Now, this is an interesting topic. There's a lot of talk, isn't there, about people having an addictive personality. The book I recently read, which is one of the Alan Carr Easy Way books, said, isn't it strange how anyone who talks about having an addictive personality is always someone who's addicted to something? And it is very true. You never hear psychologists, psychiatrists, scientists, or indeed any normal person who's not addicted to something ever talk about having an addictive personality. It's not saying it's completely an excuse, but it does seem to be some way of explaining why we do stupid, harmful things over and over again. I can't honestly answer your question because I don't know the psychology behind it, and I am only one man who has been addicted to things, and so I feel in a way like I may have been predisposed to it, but surely the very nature of things that are addictive means that all human beings with regular brains are predisposed to being potentially addicted to it because of the nature of the behaviour or the substance. So I don't know. There seems to be a strong correlation between people who are addicted to one thing and people who are addicted to multiple things. But I wonder whether that's more circumstantial than it is scientific or psychological. I used to gamble a lot more when I drank. But was that because my decision-making skills were impaired by the alcohol, which meant I then decided to gamble. And then I used to drink a lot more when I'd been gambling, but that because I'd had a loss and really basically fucked my day up and wanted to escape via another means. So yeah, I think that was more circumstantial than it was psychological. But it's an interesting topic, and one that maybe I'll do some more reading on, because I don't know. You hear the term sort of addictive personality or whatever bandied about so much. You feel like there maybe is something in it, but like I say, and as Alan Carr rightly points out, you never hear someone who isn't addicted to anything talking about addictive personality. So it might just be purely an illusion to excuse a number of simultaneous bad behaviours and habits. I hope that it doesn't answer your question, but at least I hope that gets across my sort of opinion on the matter. 3084 Gary, love the channel but still fighting to quit. I guess not hard enough. That's not necessarily true. It's don't be hard on yourself. It's not a fight, it's a practical thing, trust me. If you think you're fighting something, then you're going to lose, because all you're effectively doing is pitching your willpower against something that is highly addictive, and in that situation there's only ever going to be one winner, and it ain't going to be you. So don't be hard on yourself. If you think you're fighting it, then just work out the logically, practically, why you're continuing to gamble, or how you're able to continue to gamble, and then try and do something to sort of shut that door and prevent yourself from doing it again in the future. Because it's not a case of you not fighting hard enough. It's not a failure on your part, sort of psychologically. It's potentially a failure on your part practically, in the fact that actually you're still allowing yourself to gamble by keeping various opportunities open to you. Anyway, you go on. But then I think of things I've done in my life besides gambling that when I wanted to quit, I just stopped naturally. So I was kind of hoping it would happen with my gambling. My question is, do you still watch some big wins on YouTube, or do they still get you excited? In the last 2-3 months, I paid off over $20,000 in debt from gambling wins. The gambling created this in the first. Okay, so basically, yeah, you paid off 20 grand of your debt by winning on gambling, which is well done. Well done for actually using that money to pay off the debt. But like you allude to, perfectly reasonable in your comment, you know, the debt was there in the first place because of your gambling. So it's repairing a tiny bit of the damage that it had done. And unfortunately, if you continue to try and replicate that, then probably the reversal will become true. But your question was, do I still watch big wins on YouTube, and do they get me excited? Yes, I do occasionally still watch Casino Grounds videos. And you know why I watch Casino Grounds videos? Apart from because the fact they make 2x wins a big win, which just made me laugh really. It's because to me it looks so dull. You know, I'm not saying that in any kind of way to be, oh look at me, you know, I'm fixed, I'm cured, you know. I find watching those videos so incredibly tedious. You might ask why I do it, and that's about to be a very reasonable question. That I watch it and I don't get in any way inspired to gamble. I mean, I know, going on from my previous point, I wouldn't be able to anyway, because all my cards are blocked from gambling transactions. I'm on GamStop, I'm self-excluded from bloody everywhere, so I couldn't gamble if I wanted to. But I don't get any desire to do it. Even when you see them get like you know, whether they're real or fake or whatever, even when you see like the massive wins, it doesn't even stir a single thing inside me. I do still get urges sometimes, but those sort of big win videos, maybe it's because it seems so detached from reality, and because there is constant question over their authenticity. But for whatever reason, yeah, occasionally I watch the odd bit of it, but it doesn't spark anything inside me at all. So I don't propose you continue to watch them if it does. And certainly if you don't watch them already, don't watch them thinking, oh, you know, Phil said these are boring and they're going to put me off gambling. Just for me, for some reason, they're a massive turn-off from gambling. So yeah, like I say, don't start watching them because of that. But they don't trigger me at all. To be completely honest with you, Gary. Hannah Spencer. My question is it a good idea to let my partner take control of my finances so I'm held accountable to where my money is going whilst through recovery? Yes, absolutely, exactly. If you've got someone close to you that can do that, not only will it force you to open up and speak to someone who could very well be your best form of support throughout your recovery, it shows that you're serious about your recovery, which, as I alluded to earlier, is more likely to keep that person by your side and be supportive if they can actively see you're doing something. There is nothing... there's no bigger sign that you are willing to change and you want to do something to address your problem than by relinquishing the control of your finances. I did this, and it really does help, because it just eliminates the opportunity. If you don't have the money, then you can't gamble. So it's great because you don't have to be dishonest, you don't have to lie, the temptation can't be there, the urges, the psychological urges might be there, but the temptation isn't, because you can't do it. It's very, very handy. And in the short term, I spoke about this before, but in the short term, it feels a little bit demeaning. It feels like you're getting pocket money, like you're a kid again, But it doesn't have to be forever. But the pressure it takes off your mind, it's a massive weight lifted from your shoulders. And my wife was, really good. She didn't ever, if I wanted to buy something, or I wanted to go down a pub, or I wanted to do whatever, she wouldn't have any. She didn't really ask any questions before handing the money over. as long as it was a respectable amount, and she knew what I was doing. She wasn't micromanaging every penny, wasn't asking for receipts and stuff. But likewise, I wasn't taking the piss. If I was going to the pub, I'd say, "Oh, can you give us 30 quid or whatever?" Or if I was going to buy some trainers, or give us, I don't know what were trainers, 70, 80 quid or whatever. I don't know. Probably not that much. But anyway, if I didn't come home with trainers, then she'd ask questions, and then there'd be problems, right? But if I came home and I bought what I said I was going to buy, then there was no dramas, But I knew that she was subconsciously keeping tabs on me, and that was actually, funny enough, it was more of a relief than it was any sort of psychological hindrance I found in the end. So yes, that's a good one. And let me just quickly read the rest of your comment, Hannah. I came clean to him the other day about gambling again, and of course it's put a strain on a relationship. Yeah, absolutely will. Another question is, has your relationship got stronger since being honest with your partner and allowing them into a recovery journey? I'm worried that handing over my finances will make my partner feel like he's parenting me. Quite to the contrary. Like I just said, Hannah, again, this is all personal, isn't it? Because, your partner might be totally different to my wife, in the way they react. But I found quite to the contrary, she was just happy that I was doing something so substantial, and that she could help. It was a real, to her, it was like a commitment from me that I was going to sort of try and change, and I was actually taking steps to start that recovery process. She was really pleased by that. And as regards, has it helped our relationship? Has it got stronger, being honest? Yes, absolutely. But I think that's more by proxy, because I'm not being dishonest, moody, and all the other negative traits that come with someone who's actively in a gambling addiction. When you're in an active gambling addiction, you have random mood swings, you're dishonest, you're out longer than you say you're going to be, you're not home on time, you come home and you've forgotten to do the shopping, or all the the circumstantial stuff which makes relationships a bit crap and makes you a bad partner, do by proxy go away when you get into recovery, because you're not lying, you're not being dishonest, you're coming home when you say you will, you're behaving in a rational way, you don't have irregular mood swings which you blame on all and sundry. So yes, our relationship is stronger, and we'll be married 7 years this year, 6 years this year. Oh god, I better not get that wrong come our anniversary anyway. But anyway, onwards. Thank you for your comment, Hannah. Darren Connolly, thanks for your question, mate. What sort of pub fruits would you lose a lot on, and was it a specific make like Betcom? Would many of their machines all exactly the same with a different theme? Darren, to be honest, I always played pub fruit machines. The ones I'd lose the most on were the digital ones, certainly towards the sort of the tail end of the addiction. Before that, it was like more fob teas and online stuff, so I obviously just like the sort of digital stuff with the bonuses and all of that. But the honest answer to your question, what sort of machines would I lose money on, is most of them, apart from the ones I could actively win on. But that's probably a story for another day, and something not to get bogged down with at this point. Simon T, how high Phil, how long have you been gamble free, and have you relapsed during that time? Now, okay, how long have I been gamble free? I don't know. 2+ years gamble free, no relapses. How long have I been sort of in sort of recovery, i.e. trying to stay gamble free? Probably a good year or so longer than that, with some relapses thrown in. You'll know when my last relapse is, actually. If you scroll back through my videos, there's a video, I think it's called I Relapsed and This Is How It Happened. So there's that, which is, that's the last time I lapsed or relapsed. So yeah, it depends what you count as gamble free. I said in a previous video, I don't count days as such. I've got a rough idea of roughly how long it is. It might be, give or take 6 months, to be completely honest. I don't count days for reasons I've spoken about before. But yeah, it's probably over 2 years and less than 3. I guess it might be long. To be honest, actually, lockdown's been 2 years, isn't it? It's probably been longer. It might be over 3. Don't know. Don't be completely honest with you. But yeah, and I'll say in recovery a bit longer than that. James says, Phil, back in the day when you were playing the old school machines, handicap, etc., how much could you make in a day before they all started chipping them? I won't delve into this too much, James. But very quickly, used to, when machines were playable, I probably made somewhere between sort of 50 and 300 quid a day, maybe. But yeah, I don't really want to talk about that. That's sort of not. I appreciate your question. Maybe I'll send you a direct message, and if you want to talk about that sort of thing. I just don't want it to sort of detract from the sort of main purpose of this video. But I do appreciate your question, mate, and I thank you for your support of the channel and stuff, and I hope you're doing well, dude. Leah's Chalk, is Jaffa Cake a cake or a biscuit? Hello, tomato is a fruit. Well, a tomato is technically a fruit. Well, we can tick that one off the list. Although I would say I'd stick it in the salad drawer with all my vegetables in the fridge. So yeah, it's technically a fruit, but by proxy a vegetable. Jaffa cake, a cake or a biscuit? I don't like Jaffa cakes. That wasn't the answer you were after, but I don't really like Jaffa cakes. They taste like, to me, I think they're cakes, but they taste like stale biscuits. Don't like them. Don't like it's just a weird combination of chocolate that isn't really chocolatey, orangey stuff that's a bit like cheap marmalade, and a cakey bit that tastes like a biscuit that's gone off. Not a fan. But thank you for breaking the serious tone anyway with that, Liz. I appreciate your question. Thanks for your support. Pat's Wheelchair Adventures. Hello, mate. What's your favourite watch brand? Oh, look, another non-gambling related one. Oh, I've taken a little bit of a respite here. Oh, well, I'll tell you what, Pat. I don't have a favourite brand. Sorry, so I'm not going to answer your question. But I like watches that are interesting or mean something. I have a sort of selection of watches. Nothing like super valuable generally, but just things that I think are quite cool, quite interesting, a bit different, a bit quirky. I've got some sort of mechanical watches from sort of the 40s, 50s, 60s. The watch I wear every day is this, which is a Longines Hydra Conquest, which I absolutely adore. I bought this at the anniversary of the incorporation of my company. I bought it at the end of the first lockdown, thinking that was the end of the lockdown, sort of as a celebration. And for a couple of other reasons, I thought, well, this is a good time to buy something that means something. And I bought the Hydra Conquest because I didn't want a Seamaster, and I couldn't justify the expense of a Submariner. I love it, and I'd actually recommend if you just want a watch that you can wear every day that's a little bit special, but you're not going to worry about wearing every day. Longines Hydra Conquest, they're about, I don't know, this one's £1,300, I think, so like a lot of money, like proper money, but not like stupid money, and it will hold some value. Although I don't think I'll ever sell it because, like I say, I bought it for a reason. I do have sort of an inkling to do some sort of watch videos and stuff, but like a lot of the inklings I often talk about on my channel, they very rarely materialise just because of, well, life, don't they? Life gets in the way of doing stuff. Anyway, thanks for your comment, Pat. I appreciate that, mate. Full Throttle UK. Would you have you been to? Would I ever go to Las Vegas? I haven't been to Vegas. I would go to Vegas. Probably only as part of a tour of going sort of other places. I wouldn't want to spend too much time there. I'd like to see it. Like to see the casinos. Like to see some of the big hotels. Just sort of just see what it's all about. But maybe a couple of nights there on the way through to somewhere else. Then maybe to like Grand Canyon and stuff. Just a bit of a tour. Yes, so I'd love to see Vegas. I would just sort of seen it. But yeah, I wouldn't want to spend too long there. For not only for obvious reasons, just because it's not really sort of my thing. But yeah, I'd like to see the spectacle, certainly. Steve Guy, I replied to this one. Could you send me those chocolates behind you? No, because they're my wife's, and I know every day, right? Every time I record a video and I sort of watch it back to make sure I've not sworn excessively or said something that someone's going to sort of pull apart and make into a little 30-second video saying how I'm a hypocrite or whatever. People like to do that, Every time I watch one back, I see the chocolates in the background, and I think, oh God, if she doesn't open them soon, I'm going to open them. But let's be honest, women and lint, it's kind of more than my life is worth, to be honest, to crack them open. Although I don't know why that glue vine's still there, because that's the second Christmas that's been out, and nobody's drunk it, and I don't drink it, and I don't know why we've got it, and it sits there in the background, But hey, it's decorative, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, Kevin, what's my favourite colour? And Full Throttle commented out of red or black or green. Yes, I see what you did there. What's my favourite colour? Don't really have one. Black, I guess, because it's slimming, and at the moment I'm carrying more than a few extra pounds. Hence the reason I'm always wearing black in my videos. Or this, which is was black once upon a time back in the 90s when I bought it. It is now very, very much, it's very grey, isn't it? Jesus. There's a grey t-shirt underneath. It's dark in the black sweatshirt. Anyway, that wasn't why you called. Anyway, let's crack on. Rafman, or it could be a Rafman, maybe your name's Raf, or it could be RAF Man. My apologies if I got the wrong one. But I've realised lately that I'll never be able to quit gambling. I can quit for a few weeks, but I always come back. Well, if you can quit for a few weeks, you can quit for a few weeks longer. And that's not me being preachy and sanctimonious, but it's true. If you do a few weeks, then you've done it. You can quit gambling. You just need to sort of carry that on. And like I said earlier in the video, not to repeat myself, just look at practical ways and why you're able after your few weeks, which is great. A few weeks is brilliant work. why after those few weeks you're actually able to go back. Look at that and sort of maybe sort of question how you were able to gamble again. Because if you can do a few weeks, you've broken the cycle. You just need to continue and build a new cycle, which doesn't involve gambling. You've done the hard work. You know, just make sure you can't go back when those crafty urges call you. Anyway, you're saying, I have money on my bank account, it's nearly impossible to resist the urge. The other night I turned £350 into 8k and lost it all in a matter of minutes. Yep, that's a very familiar sounding story, isn't it? That's why we never win, because we when we do win, we go, yeah, we can gamble some more. We up the stakes and we think, I'll just turn that 8k into 10k and then I'll withdraw it. And then, even if you do, then you go back the next day, well, I'll just have a quick 500 quid, you know, and just quick. And then, yeah, we all know where that goes. I couldn't even get out of bed the next day, I was so depressed. Yep. Yeah, been there. I still haven't eaten anything. We'll eat something. You know, it's important. But yeah, no, I there is not really a massive question there. But you got, you know, yeah, I know where you've been, Raf man. Been there so many times. You know, all I can say is, you know, once you decide you want to quit, once you decide that's enough, and you're going to do it. You know, no half measures, crack on, do everything you can in your power to stop yourself from gambling, and yeah, take the bull by the horns, and your life will start to get better very, very quickly, mate. But wishing you all the best, and like I say, if you can do a few weeks, you can certainly do a few weeks more, a few months, a few years, and before you know it, you're well, you've overtaken me and you're home and dry. Right, well, I think is that all the questions? Is that all the questions? I think that might all be the questions on that video. I might have missed some, in which case I can do a part 2. But blimey, we're not getting on an hour now. So yeah, if you're still here at the end, then thank you. I really appreciate you staying and watching all this time. You know, it's been well, it's been a bit of a monster video, hasn't it? But yeah, if there's any other questions you want answering that I haven't maybe touched upon in this video, then maybe stick them under this video, and I'll start building them up. And then when you know, the time comes, I will do a part 2 or just another video answering more of your questions. It's been really interesting. And as I always say, thank you for everyone who asked the questions, but thank you also for your support and for being on this journey. Oh, God, that sounded cliched and wanky, didn't it? But being on this journey with me. Whether you're ahead of me in terms of recovery, or you've just started, or you're just contemplating, you know, giving up your gambling for good, then welcome. Thank you. Subscribe and all that. But most importantly, take care of yourselves and those around you. And yeah, stay safe, stay sane. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, I'm off to go and have a glass of water because my mouth's just about to dry up. Take care, everyone. Look after yourselves. All the best.